Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much again, Maya, for this opportunity to chat with you. I really was inspired by you because I've seen several stories about your going from vegetarian to vegan to raw vegan. And we have so many, honestly, vegan companies in San Diego. And then we actually have a lot of Black women owned vegan companies and different things too. So I just said, who would be the perfect person to, encourage and inspire more veganism? And you say veganism a lot, so this is a lifestyle. This is that go vegan life that I love about it that you do. So I just want to, give everybody this opportunity to hear from you and get to know this journey and whatnot. So.
Oh yeah, the vegan life is not how I was raised, first of all. None of us really.
Yeah.
Select few, but no, I was not familiar with it. It was like a foreign language to me, a foreign territory. And then I gave up pork a long time ago, like 1996. I blacked out basically at the top of my steps when I was living with my parents.
Oh, really?
When pork was being cooked downstairs. And then it happened again when I was at my grandmother's house. And so it was the fumes from the oil and all that kind of stuff that led me to give up red meat. And then eventually seafood, vegetarian. And then vegetarianism led me to the next step. Okay,
Yes.
veganism through a willpower challenge. And then when I stepped in that territory, which was brand new to me, I'd learn and acquire all this information. And when you then become aware of so many different things as it pertains to how meat is made, some of the factory farming and animal agriculture, and then the environment that's affected, along with human health, along with animal health and cruelty practices, then you step into a space that you were just never aware of. And then it becomes a natural transformation and lifestyle. So I'm vegan for life for those reasons, but I was not aware of those things for a long time in my life. And I wish I'd known sooner, but I've seen so many benefits. And a lot of people ask me about what it's like, what I have experienced. And we can get into that in a minute. But that also led me to creating the starter guide that you mentioned earlier, away from the interview, because people do have questions and want to know, how do you do this? What is it? And how can I benefit from it?
And it's really funny about the benefits because you hear this defuncting thing about the negative traits of being vegan. You hear this, you have to take all these supplements, you don't get all these nutrients. But then when you hear interviews from you, you say your skin has never been better, you don't get sick anymore, your voice, you say everything. It's just an amazing experience for
You
you.
can still be thick if that's, an issue. People think you're going to get skinny and wither away. If you're eating a non-balanced diet, that's possible, but you can also gain a lot of weight being vegan as well and be unhealthy. So it's all about getting a well-balanced diet, getting your proper nutrition. And that's why I challenge myself with the monthly challenges, annual challenges that I conduct, because I can always be better. I can always whip myself into better shape. I can always have better habits in the kitchen on my plate. So I don't necessarily have to commit to a workout program. I'm not trying to do all that. It's good, but sometimes I can't. Sometimes I'm not in a position time-wise or even
Yeah.
gym-wise to get to a set of weights or equipment. So I compromise on my plate, but that doesn't mean that you don't have fun, because vegan life
It
is
can be
lit.
fun.
You can have chicken and waffles, but it's plant-based. You can
Yeah.
have crab cakes, it's plant-based. You can
Okay.
have milk, you can have cheese, you can have pasta, pizza, lasagna. The list goes on and on. And it's so fun because I'd never known in my lifetime that this was possible until I stepped into the space. And I'm going to tell you, it's just rewarding. I don't take any medicine. The only vitamins I do take that I was taking when I ate meat were vitamin D, because I don't spend enough time in the sun, especially now, that we're kind of on lockdown and indoors. It's summertime. And a B12, which you need to take anyways, regardless of what your diet is. But those are the only two vitamins I take. And I get most of my vitamins, minerals, enzymes from my food that I actually never gave the time of day when I was not vegan. You know what I'm
Nice.
saying?
Yeah,
So it's
definitely.
really fun and it's so rewarding for those reasons.
Didn't you say in a past interview, we always have to make sure we do our research before we hop on these things, that it actually helped cure your anemia? You were anemic at
Yes.
first?
I was anemic when I was eating meat. I was also anemic when I was vegetarian. But when I went vegan, because I was incorporating more leafy greens, more iron-rich foods, and more sea moss into my daily regimen, I reversed my anemia, not even borderline, far away from it. And so it's really, really, truly about the diet. And obviously, the more raw you eat and incorporate those things, the more enzymes, nutrients, minerals you're going to get for your body. And that's how we function properly at optimal health. So that's one of the things that I learned as my own test dummy, that is truly possible, not to have all these medications or doctor's bills or cancer. You can prevent a lot of things, and that runs heavy in my family, from diabetes to heart disease, fatty liver disease, cancer. My mother is a 2-time survivor, and I just want to be the first to break this generational diet, but also a generational curse that comes with the diet, because I've watched my loved ones suffer, and I don't want to see that happen, to anyone in my family. But I also have to be the walking example if I do want to convert anybody. And if I do want to have kids, and if I do want to have kids one day, I want to make sure that they're armed and protected, and that I'm around as well, fully functional.
Nice, nice. Especially for the African American community, we have that big issue. Myself, my mom passed away of pancreatic cancer. Being young, not understanding that, looking back at the diet and like family from Texas and everything, realizing that all those things that we incorporated, wishing back early that we could have those other conversations, taking out all the sodas and the processed chips and everything. So, it's interesting that you said that, because it is something that where the first thing we go to is, go to the gym and, just do the balanced meals, but it doesn't really give us a holistic approach. And that's what I really appreciate about what you do and how you really, live this lifestyle, and you challenge people, monthly. You pop up with a new challenge every time. Like, you don't let people get comfortable. You're like, hey, come on this journey with me.
Yeah, I did start the challenges because I did want to do better for myself, and I know that I was not doing veganism correctly. That's number one. And I was okay admitting that, because I was also on my learning journey as a student as well. I gained a little bit of weight when I went vegan, honestly, because I did the carbs and the pasta, the rice, the breads, and it's about giving up the processed stuff if you do want to have a healthier lifestyle, but also see the benefits, whether you eat meat or not. And then there were a whole other set of issues that didn't sit well with my spirit when I found out what was going on behind closed doors with, animal agriculture and how that affects our planet and environment, etc. And watching my family suffer, my community suffer, some of my friends suffer prematurely. And I made the challenges easier for these past 2 years, including this year, because I wanted to inspire people to get on board and understand that, okay, we're not going to start with 7 days anymore. That might be a stretch, but 3 days
3 days
is doable. Just 3 days, because all that your body needs is 3 complete days to truly begin resetting it, and to begin craving what you feed it. And then in 28 days, you begin to see if it becomes habitual, a new layer of skin, your organs becoming replenished and rebuilding themselves. And so I just want to make it, or ease into it with people, and allow them to see what it does for them in 3 days. Because honestly, every time I get past that 3-day mark, my body is truly reset. I begin craving what I'm feeding it. And the raw vegan stuff is what I need to be craving, because I will have a bag of Oreos by myself, because why? They are vegan.
Oreos are vegan?
Oreos are vegan.
Okay,
Fries
so now
are vegan. Fries
Mike's got the approval for it. Oreos are vegan, everybody.
And that's a problem. There's junk food that's still vegan. So I know that that's not always the answer, but when you open the door to people and allow them to see that, it's just not rabbit food, it's just not having a salad and fruit every day. No, There's vegan chicken and waffles. There's vegan crab cakes. There's vegan curry, vegetables, mushrooms. There's also plant-based meats and substitutes. There's even vegan mock seafood, and you can actually make it from fresh ingredients like banana blossom or jackfruit or mushrooms or chickpeas, and mashing things together and putting them in a frying pan or an air fryer or a dehydrator or an oven, and then seasoning with plants, which makes meat taste good.
Yeah.
And using some of the same sauces, because you don't lose your flavor, you don't lose your palate, you are more fulfilled without the itis, you know. So that's also what inspired me to start these cooking sessions. The next one is August 29th on Zoom through meatcandy.com. And it really brings people together and allows them, or introduces them to the new flavors, but also the new textures of things made from scratch. Because some of that stuff in the store people don't like because it tastes like cardboard to them, or it's different
Yeah.
from what they're used to. And so the key is using the right ingredients to get the right texture and marinating it properly. And then obviously seasoning is a big important thing in our community. So that's fun to me, because if it tastes nasty, I'm not going to eat it. So I cook for myself for pleasure, for pleasure.
Yeah.
But, you know, I also like to play in the health food space as well, and make sure that I'm eating a well-balanced diet, because I can get caught up or lost in the sauce of eating unhealthy stuff when I get lazy, you know. And unhealthy means processed, high fructose corn syrup, and that's just not the way, whether you're vegan or not. And that's what causes issues in our community.
Okay, nice. You know, you said stuff in the store. Do you have certain products in the store that people like, you know, people love the Beyond the Meats and different things? Do you have like your go-tos that people can say, oh, shoot, Maya loves it too, so let me try it out? Do you have like your top
Yes.
3 or 5s?
Yes. When I need to record in the studio for like 18 hours sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to prepare my meals, but I want something fulfilling, obviously, plant-based meats are great. They're processed, but they're a lot more healthy than the standard meats that you get in the store. And you don't have to spend time thawing and preparing like you do meat. But the Gardein meatless meatballs are so bomb. My grandmother asks for them
Oh,
on a
wow.
regular basis, and I make my own cheese from cashews.
Oh,
And
wow.
sometimes I'll melt that cashew cheese on top, but I'll also add a little marinara sauce. And there's also plant-based cheeses that you can use as well if you're in a quick hurry or you don't have a blender or a NutriBullet. And my favorite is by Kite Hill, but they also have several different brands like Follow Your Heart. And I list all of these, many, many different ice cream brands, cheese brands, dairy, nut milk or plant-based milk brands in my free starter guide at mayamaya.com/lifestyle, so that people know what brands, number one, I like that don't taste like cardboard, and that you can find online. Walmart or Target sells them, or you can go into your local grocery store as well, or you can go to the direct website of that brand and just Google it, because they are really, really advancing in this vegan life space, and the products are beginning to taste very realistic, like what we're used to, but with less consequences, or very few or no consequences to our health at the end of the day. And that's what it should be about. But these are the foods that I call transitional foods for that reason. They're not raw, you know, and they're not vegetables that come out of the ground or fruits that grow off the trees, but they are the first phase to beginning your journey to initiate the vegan life. And then that's step one. After step one is accomplished, then you can begin incorporating the more raw fruits and vegetables and whole grains and all of that to your regular, well, regimen on your plate. So this is what I recommend as the first step, using the substitutes, because they're very tasty and fulfilling with no health risks as far as I know.
And it's so funny because you talk about like there's levels to this, and before even embarking on this journey or while you were on this journey, you stated that in previous interviews and different things that you had to do a lot of like research. And sometimes that research also, had you even go on a spiritual journey because you started to look at, how meat was processed, how dairy and different things, what are some of the good resources you think that people should check on if they go to like Netflix or if they're going online? What does that look like?
Well, for documentaries, I would definitely recommend watching Earthlings, but also Food Matters, Food Inc., What the Health. And there's a recent one, Game Changers, for those that are athletes, so that you can see the big difference between inflammation as well as recovery time on a plant-based diet, and vegan athletes breaking records and setting new records versus what they were at or where they were at before. There's so many: Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy, More Than Honey, and my starter guide is basically a directory for all of these things. I list documentaries and books to read. For the Black community, I would definitely recommend reading Dr. Africa's book, and it's called African Holistic Health. And this speaks about biological makeup, habitat, geography, and some of the things that once were available to us food-wise that are no longer because we've adopted something called the Standard American Diet, which is also known as SAD, S-A-D. And you know what? Historically, we've had to make do with slave food. And that has led to a lot of health risks for us. And that's why we are at the top of the list of statistics, because we're putting non-natural things. And first of all, the things that we didn't necessarily ever take into consideration prior to slavery, based on our first natural habitat. And he breaks this down because we suffer the most. And there was a natural way, an initial way that's no longer practiced because we're so separated from what once was. There's a delay happening, so it's a little hard to talk over myself. Pardon me.
No problem.
Let's see. Testing 1, 2. All right. Yeah, so African Holistic Health is one of the books that I would strongly recommend for our community for those reasons. And just understanding the food system, spirituality, and geography, but also the biological makeup of what's supposed to go in our bodies, and then how we're supposed to eat, the proper foods to combine, and when to eat based on circadian rhythm, and what fasting is, chakras, energy. It's all energy, it's all frequency, and I'm learning a lot, even as a 6-year vegan. All of the things that I still do incorrectly because my parents didn't know, my grandparents, my great parents didn't know, and we were to make do with what we had. And so I'm trying to get back to the natural source, and that book is definitely a blueprint for that.
Nice.
There's tons of other books in my free starter guide as well.
Oh, nice. Definitely, I will share the free starter guide, email it, the website for everyone with this. So at the end of this, I'll send that out and make sure everyone can go see that and download it. This journey sometimes is definitely hard, especially for the African American community. How can one go about it? We do the research, but how do we support ourselves? Because, we probably are with our friends who are doing brunches and doing these things. Like, how do we get in that mindset? I know you said to mix passion with purpose. I've seen some things that you said in the past, but how can you get that strength? When you're like, I'm trying to do this, and you're with a group of friends on a Sunday brunch, and they're probably telling you, do it tomorrow. We're out brunch. What does that look like for you?
Well, I always say, set a goal for yourself, take a challenge, see how strong you are, make it fun. It doesn't necessarily have to feel like an assignment. Invite people, also announce it publicly so that you can take full accountability and know that eyes are watching you and looking up to you or looking down at you.
Are judging you.
Challenge yourself. That's how we grow. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a permanent life decision that you make overnight. Nothing happens overnight. And make it fun. Like I said, I have the 3 day challenge. It's super easy now. We don't start at 7 days anymore. We do it every first of the month because everyone can do it. It's very attainable. And I offer coaching on IG Live as well as post my own slides because I also take this challenge to be a better vegan with those participants. And I offer great rewards, etc. But honestly, when you step into new territory and challenge yourself, you can't help but research. You can't help but, first of all, make mistakes while you're learning, but you're learning. And you're learning while you're falling on your face. And that's okay. Start with one day, meatless Mondays.
Yeah.
Start making vegan tacos on Taco Tuesdays. There's plant-based meat in the store that you can place in your taco. I made some for my niece like 2 weeks ago, and she did not know the difference. And it was delicious. And I tore them things up too. So,
Did you use the
so that
cashew
it's
cheese?
possible. It's possible. Look at me. I'm not supposed to look this good. At my age, I'm not. But I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of things if I didn't crack the whip on myself,
Yeah.
challenge myself. I'm proud of myself, but I gave myself the permission to make mistakes, to start slow in phases. And so give yourself permission. Be easy on yourself. My motto is progress, not perfection. You don't have
Love
to go cold turkey, no pun intended, overnight, but make it a weekly thing with one day. Advance to 3 days after you're comfortable with that one day. Then take it a little further when you're cool with 3 days and it's no longer a challenge. Baby steps,
Baby.
progress, not
Have you ever fallen off the wagon anytime before, where it's like when you were starting becoming vegan, or even when you were starting vegetarian? Did anything ever happen where you're like, oh my gosh, I just did you have any craving
ever.
that? Yeah.
Well, see, when I was vegetarian, I was vegetarian for a couple of years and I got into a relationship and he was not. And then I started cooking all this stuff that I was not comfortable cooking. And then I started going back to eating my old habits. I even went back to pork,
Oh.
on certain occasions, and I gained like 25 pounds. And I started not looking like Maya anymore or feeling like Maya anymore. And, that relationship was a hot mess, anyways, but I exited and I went back vegetarian myself. So there was an influence around me that was not aligned with who I was, anyways. And so I was younger, I'm more wise now. And I do it for spiritual reasons now, but also I'm very aware it's not a trend or a fad for me because it is spiritually aligned with who I am as a person. And I think all people are spiritually aligned, but a lot of people don't have the awareness and information about diet and energy and what it does to us mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. That is hard to get out of our ways. But yes, when I went vegan after vegetarian, which was a goal of mine to do something further after I got myself back after that relationship, um, I set that goal and I allowed myself 2 days out of the month to look forward to just while I was in that 6 months transitioning, to look forward to, okay, I'm going to have some cheese or eggs. And then I just didn't crave it anymore because there were egg substitutes. There were other cheeses available that I discovered on my journey. But I gave myself 2 cheat days out of a month when I first started. And then I didn't even have to fulfill the 6 months of that because I'd already found substitutes,
Mhm.
and then also the information that I acquired in my journey as well. So patience and giving yourself reward as well.
Are you also really with the raw vegan diet? Do you also do like no honey? I just learned recently about different things like with honey and sprinkles and all these things. And we were at a business that they were teaching us
Crazy.
these things. I said, "Oh wow!" They were like, "Yeah, you can't because some vegans are very, very like no."
Yeah, it's so wild. There are different tiers of vegan, and I'm open to learning from every tier. Uh, but yes, I do not consume honey after I found out what honey was, first of all, and then how it was consumed, and then obviously what happens to the hives and the queen bee and in the manufacturing business and transport business. Disrupting nature is just something that I'm against. Now that I understand the domino effect of it, I
Wow.
try not to. First of all, I walk outside on grass. Yes, I'm going to kill ants by accident, but it's not intentional. So if I have a choice um, to not contribute to destroying an ecosystem or our oceans by not using plastic and stainless steel straws instead, or taking my own bag to the grocery store. There are little things like that that I've been introduced through vegan life, and I've adjusted myself because I was no longer ignorant to those things. But yeah, no honey. Some vegans even consider mushrooms to be non-vegan. I still have my mushrooms because mushrooms are fungi that come usually from animal fecal. When you think about it, it's like, wait a minute, hold on. So some vegans, like, they think that mushrooms are not vegan.
Yeah.
I do because there's no cruelty involved.
Uh-huh.
And then also, vegan is not limited to just your plate or your food, but it is a lifestyle. That means no Louis Vuitton handbags and leather, and furs, animal skins,
Uh-huh.
all kinds of things in fashion, automotive, furniture. And so I've completely turned my life around for those reasons because I'm contributing to destructive um, practices in
Yeah.
the world, but also cruelty to animals that's not necessary for you and your vanity.
Yeah. I love that for you. Veganism is so it's just a very holistic thing. It's multifaceted, because being in Southern California, San Diego, you go to LA, people love to just say it because it sounds really, really cute. It sounds good to say, oh, I'm
Right.
vegan,
Trendy.
Yeah, it's very trendy, but for you, it sounds like even you take into, Reiki and then meditation, it's really, it's a holistic lifestyle choice. And that's why I believe when I see a lot of times when you mention veganism, that isn't part, it transcends just that part. It's about your role in society and the ecosystem and how you are, like your own carbon footprint.
Yeah. It's just taking responsibility after you're aware.
Hmm.
Most of us are not aware, and that's not how I grew up. These are the things that were not taught in school. So I share because people ask. I don't force it upon people, but when they ask me to conduct challenges or ask me what my secrets are, I create a starter guide or conduct challenges for those reasons because there is interest. And if I can show the way or at least be a slight guiding light through information and awareness, I think people are very interested when they do become aware of, first of all, the health benefits for us as humans. But then once you step into that rabbit hole of a plethora of information, your spirit doesn't want to go back, you know. And exploring the many practices of the egg industry, dairy industry, obviously meat industry, and what that does to our oceans, what it does to animals, what it does to the Amazon rainforest, what it does to our oxygen supply,
Wow.
and world hunger, and the fact that people of color, the majority, by the way, of the world are people of color, minority, suffer from world hunger because of animal agriculture, when those grains are being stolen from people and fed to bred cattle so that we can eat them when we don't need them. Biologically, we're not even made to digest meat. I mean, ugh, it doesn't even make sense anymore. And all of that's in the starter guide as well. So it's very unfamiliar, very uncomfortable to uncover because you feel lied to. And yes, we have been. But there's a way to change it. And there's also a way to have fun while you eat and be fulfilled and not lose your carbs, ladies, and live a better life all around and feel a better person all around.
Nice,
So
nice. Kim
I'm
says
here to
she loves your
share.
starter guide. Kim
Who?
just said, Kim, she just
Oh,
said she
thank
loves your
you.
starter guide.
Oh, I'm
what
so happy that it's
what
helpful.
what do you have to do to download the starter guide? What goes through it? Is it kind of like sequential once they like start it, they go from start to end, please let us know a little bit more about that.
Well, the starter guide is free. It is a downloadable PDF. I'm currently in the studio, like right now, recording the audiobook
Oh,
because a lot
nice.
of people don't like to read all that. It's now expanded, so it's a lot longer, and I'm constantly updating it. So those that downloaded it last year might want to download the new version. There's been like 4 different versions in 2020 because I'm also finding out more information. And obviously, as the world progresses, there are new statistics that come in and new documentaries and books to share, but also news. But my journey, my testimony, my welcome message opens up the starter guide and then obviously the table of contents. And then it speaks about why to go vegan, then the many different tiers of vegan from flexitarian to pescatarian, vegetarian, vegan, raw vegan, alkaline vegan, juicing, fasting, breatharian. I mean, I've heard so many things once I've stepped into this territory. It speaks about the risks. It speaks about the things that you need to arm and prepare yourself. It speaks about being a pregnant woman,
Wow.
and some of the things that are safe. The spiritual journey, and then environmentalism. There's a whole section about that. Animal cruelty, a whole section about that. But ingredients, substitutes, and many different websites to get your meal grocery lists or recipes, meal plans, and different brands of sea mosses, but also plant-based meats, makeup, hair products, beauty, nail polish. The list goes on and on. Handbags, wallets, everything vegan. It's a directory. So someone just typed vegan Bible. And I want to share that and make it accessible to people because it is done wonders, but we're headed in that direction as a globe anyways, because the way we are consuming animals, but also plastic and destroying our oceans is just not sustainable anymore. And so you can see with the vegan industry and just products alone, a multi-billion-dollar industry, how things are now being shifted and becoming abundant worldwide because people are becoming more aware and they want to do better. And with this age of connectivity, information is available for people to find out. And then obviously the health risks. The health risks involved for us, animals that transfer to us, and then the planet.
Oh wow. It's funny because there are so many more African Americans going into this vegan lifestyle. Are you you've been in this I would say, people say with the music you've been in the game, but you've been in this vegetarian to vegan for 10 years for vegetarian and 6 years for vegan so far. And are you surprised by the rate of African Americans going vegan and the African American vegan businesses that are opening up?
I am not surprised. I'm praising it. But I understand because it does affect us more than any other group on the globe. Because sometimes it's economic, sometimes it's because of lack of access. And then obviously, historically in our country, which we touched on earlier, dealing with slave food and scraps becoming a tradition and making something out of nothing is a beautiful thing. Um, but it's something that is killing us generationally, excuse me. And so we have no choice but to find different ways. And economically, sometimes we can't afford to be on medicine every month at $500, $800, and then healthcare. And that's not everybody, but the way the system is designed, they're not performing any surgery unless you are insured. You understand? So why? Let's prevent.
Yeah.
And so people are wising up because there's so many things against us designed for us to lose before we even start. And so, yes, this community is wising up and empowering self and arming yourself with information and then doing something about it with that information empowers you, empowers your children, empowers the next generation. And so I think we've always been woke, but in this age of connectivity, we're becoming more aware of the intricacies and self-educating, starting our own businesses, because the system is just not for us
Yeah.
in every department. And that's a beautiful thing to see, but I'm not surprised because it's overdue and it's time for a change.
Yeah. Nice. You know, a lot of people don't know that you're even fighting for, you know, reforms in schools when it comes to lunches and different things for the students. Where did that, like, you know, when did that spark, or where did that spark come from?
Well, I was invited to do a tutorial, sort of like a session at a restaurant that I love in an area that I grew up in, and it's called Everlasting Life Restaurant. It's Black owned. And so what I did was invite children and their parents, my NutriBullet, and I had two assistants. And I have a foundation as well in Washington, D.C., where we teach all kinds of different classes that the school system doesn't offer. But I'd never played with the space of nutrition, and I'm a frequent customer there. But I have nieces and nephews, and I began introducing smoothies to my niece. And the way I did it was obviously making it pretty with beautiful colors, allowing her to name her smoothie like a menu. And she became addicted, just like her dad, my brother. You know, kids especially eat with their eyes. And so I figured I would sort of introduce children that way to smoothies by letting them choose the ingredients, but also allowing them to name their own smoothies and create a menu. And that's where it started and sparked the idea of those sessions with kids. But then, obviously, all the health risks and then the mental that's attached to what we put in our bodies, brain power, how we retain information, depression, anxiety. A lot of children in our community are being diagnosed with ADD or bipolarism, chemical imbalances of the brain, and it has everything to do with diet. It has everything to do with environment, what we're exposed to, and traumas of childhood. A lot of different things, but diet can usually, in most cases, and I don't want to say always, but because there's so many other factors that come into play with how we feel emotionally and mentally and how we perform. But I'm the walking example of taking myself out of toxic environments, professionally and personally, and doing better with diet, you know, and avoiding depression or being able to combat it and win, survive, but not only survive, thrive. And so if this can be applied to children, because they're not getting the proper nutrition to feed and fuel their bodies, they're not getting the proper nutrition to retain information and keep attention spans, but that has a lot to do with the education system too. They shouldn't be offering junk food and processed foods for breakfast or lunch. Where's the healthy, fresh stuff that our bodies are designed to digest, first of all, biologically, and recover? We're not getting that. The children are not getting that. They're getting a lot of preserved stuff, chemicals, whether it's vaccines or whether it's food. And that plays a big part on their health and advancement. And it's not fair. So that is what truly inspired getting the lunch programs to try to convert to at least a healthy, balanced meal and well prepared, not packaged, processed junk for children.
No, I love that. I want to thank you. You know, we're almost closing up on our time, but I love that you really just want to give everyone a second chance at this. You know, you talk about how we were dealt a bad hand since the beginning of our time in this country, but you try to hit it at every stage from, you know, helping adults understand how to be, you know, vegan and the benefits, and then even going from the next generation, you know. Before we end, what would be some things that you would love for people who are watching this or who are watching the recording to take away and understand, you know, like the last 5 minutes with Maya, this is what you guys should know.
Well, I come from a community and a family of lots of health risks, and I do this out of love, and I do it for free. It is love, because I want to see us thrive, not just survive or get by. And it's very painful to watch your loved ones, you know. It's one thing, by the way, to just be winning all the time, regardless, and beat all odds, against all odds. But imagine arming yourself, obviously, with knowledge and awareness. Imagine going against the system in every single way. This is just one of the ways and one of the compartments that we can empower ourselves and go against a system designed to suppress, oppress, depress, you know, and thrive beyond expectation or beyond plan. And that's what I want to see. I want to see us win in every single way and live beautiful lives and not hooked up to machines and tubes. That is an atrocious thing to see. It's very painful to watch. It's very painful to go through and expensive. Um, I want that for people, but especially our community, because we're affected the most for all of the reasons I mentioned before. And it's just about empowerment, and it's just about doing better once we know better. And I hope I'm the walking example of, you know, doing better for myself. So it's all about love and alignment, and it goes beyond just you. It's for everyone as a whole, including the very, very own planet that we live on. And it's a responsibility of mine because I'm not the last generation on this earth, and I hope that I'm not the cause of it if we are the last generation. You know, but it's looking like that. But you know, thinking outside of just yourself, but your next generation and the next after you, and some of the gems that you can leave behind to allow people to live their best lives and become their best selves and higher selves. Because I really truly believe that life is meant to be beautiful. And we have a lot of issues out here that we have to face. And so why not arm yourself and protect yourself and prevent as many things as possible and be ready for war at all times, because there is a war on Black people globally, period. And we know it, we see it. And I just want us to win.
Thank you. You are our motivator, generalist, cheerleader, everything. I really appreciate your perspective on this, and I appreciate what other people can gain from you know, hearing this, seeing this, and understanding that it's so multifaceted, Maya. So I really, really thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and journey with us all.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the great questions as well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Everybody, we're about to end this and, you know, let Maya go back to finishing her 18-hour days in the studio and giving us this wonderful information. I will be sharing in the email with everyone the link to for your free download guide. And Maya, if you would love, we have some amazing products and things out here. I would love to see some gift cards for some of our amazing vegan owned, Black owned vegan brands, if you would love some.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And everybody, come to my August 29th cooking session in my kitchen, because we're going to be making vegan crab cakes, vegan mac and cheese, vegan collard greens, and a secret dessert of mine. So enjoy, and I hope to see you there.
Okay. Thank you, Maya. I will be sending you some stuff like shirts like this and everything else. And there's even some cookies, skincare stuff from some businesses. So I'll be sending that your way this week.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.